Imagine this scenario for a second, because I know for a fact you have been here before, and it is one of those moments that makes you question your entire existence. You're walking down the street, maybe you're checking your phone or just lost in thought, and someone literally bumps into you. I mean, they weren't looking where they were going, they drifted into your lane and they collided with your shoulder. It was objectively 100% their fault. But what is the very first word that flies out of your mouth before your brain even has a chance to process the physics of the collision? You say, sorry. You apologize to the person who hit you. Or how about this one? You're at a restaurant, you ordered the soup, and the waiter brings you a salad. It is clearly not what you asked for. It's a mistake on their end. But when you call them over to correct it, you start the sentence with, "I'm so sorry to be a bother, but I think this is the wrong order." Why are you sorry? You didn't cook the wrong meal. You didn't write down the wrong order. You're the one paying for it. Yet you feel this instant knee-jerk need to absorb the tension, to smooth things over, to take the blame for a situation that you didn't create. It happens in emails too, doesn't it? You send an email to a colleague asking for something they were supposed to send you 3 days ago, and you write, "Sorry to bug you," or "Apologies for the chase." You are apologizing for their delay. It's a phenomenon that goes way beyond just being polite or having good manners. And if you find yourself doing this constantly, apologizing for taking up space, apologizing for asking questions, apologizing for having needs, or even apologizing for things that are inanimate objects like bumping into a chair, then you need to listen very closely, because this isn't just a quirk. It is a psychological signal that your brain is sending you, and it is rooted in something much deeper than just trying to be a nice person. In fact, that little sorry is often a sophisticated defense mechanism that you likely developed a long time ago, and while it kept you safe back then, it is actively sabotaging your confidence and your relationships right now. See, most people think over-apologizing is a sign of humility or kindness, but psychology tells us a different story. It tells us that for many of us, sorry isn't an admission of guilt. It is a request for safety. It is a way of saying, "Please don't be mad at me," or "I'm making myself small so I'm not a threat." In the moment you realize why you're actually doing it, the entire way you navigate the world changes. You stop seeing yourself as just polite and start seeing the patterns of a specific survival response that has gone into overdrive. But before we get to how to fix it, we have to understand the mechanics of it, because if you don't understand the engine, you can't drive the car. The root cause of this behavior usually ties back to what psychologists call the fawn response. You've heard of fight or flight, right? Maybe even freeze? Well, fawn is the fourth, often overlooked sibling in the stress response family. Fight is when you attack the threat. Flight is when you run from it. Freeze is when you play dead. But fawn? Fawn is when you try to please the threat to avoid conflict. It's a survival strategy where you try to appease an aggressor or a dominant figure to keep yourself safe from harm or rejection. If you grew up in an environment where the adults were emotionally unpredictable, where love was conditional, or where keeping the peace was the only way to avoid an explosion, your brain learned a very powerful lesson. To be safe, I must be agreeable. To be safe, I must anticipate the needs of others and apologize before I even make a mistake. You learned that being right wasn't as important as being liked or safe. So, fast forward to today. You're an adult, you are safe, but your nervous system is still running that old software. When you bump into someone, or when you have to send that email, your brain perceives a micro moment of potential conflict. It thinks, uh-oh, tension detected. Danger, danger, and to neutralize that danger instantly, it fires off the sorry flare. It's a preemptive strike against rejection. You're essentially saying, "I'm already blaming myself so you don't have to." It's a way of controlling the other person's reaction. If I apologize first, they can't get mad, right? It feels like a shield, but actually it's a heavy suit of armor that is suffocating you. And here's the kicker, the part that really messes with your head. Doing this actually makes people respect you less, not more. I know, that sounds harsh, but think about it. When you apologize for things that aren't your fault, you are subconsciously telling the world, "I'm in the wrong here. I'm lesser. My time and space are less valuable than yours." And people, often without even realizing it, pick up on that signal. They start to treat you like someone who can be pushed aside, or someone whose needs are secondary, because you've already told them that's who you are. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You apologize because you feel small, and because you apologize, people treat you small, which makes you feel smaller, so you apologize more. It's a loop, a toxic, exhausting loop. But here's the good news, and this is the aha moment you've been waiting for. You can break this loop. You can retrain your brain to stop seeing every interaction as a potential threat. You can learn to exist without apologizing for your existence. It doesn't happen overnight, and it feels incredibly uncomfortable at first, like writing with your non-dominant hand, but the results are life-changing. So, how do we actually do this? How do we stop the automatic sorry from slipping out? The solution isn't just stop saying it, because that's impossible when it's a reflex. The solution is to replace it. We need to swap the software. The first step is what I call the gratitude flip. This is a game changer. Most of the time when we say sorry, what we really want to do is acknowledge the other person or the situation. We want to be polite. So, instead of apologizing for your existence, thank them for their assistance. For example, you're late to a meeting. You rush in, breathless. The old you would say, "I'm so sorry I'm late." The new you says, "Thank you for waiting for me." Do you feel the difference? "Sorry I'm late" centers the interaction on your failure. "Thank you for waiting" centers the interaction on their patience. It's positive. It acknowledges them without devaluing you. Another example, you're venting to a friend about a bad day, and you catch yourself rambling. Old you, "I'm sorry for complaining so much." New you, "Thank you for listening to me." It shifts the energy from guilt to gratitude. It changes the dynamic from a burden and a victim to two equals connecting. Step 2 is the fact check. This is for your internal monologue. When you feel that urge to apologize, I want you to pause, physically pause, bite your tongue if you have to, and ask yourself one question. Did I do something wrong, or am I just feeling uncomfortable? There's a massive difference. If you spilled coffee on someone's shirt, yes, you did something wrong. Apologize. That's appropriate. But if you were asking a question in a meeting, you didn't do anything wrong. You're doing your job. If someone bumped into you, you didn't do anything wrong. Physics happened. If you need to return a product that is broken, you're not doing anything wrong. You're a consumer with rights. Distinguishing between doing harm and taking up space is crucial. You are allowed to take up space. You are allowed to have questions. You are allowed to have preferences. You are allowed to be visible. The fact check helps you realize that 90% of your apologies are for things that are not offenses. They're just life. And the third step, and this is the hardest but most rewarding one, is the silence. We often say sorry to fill the dead air. We say it to bridge the gap because silence feels like tension to us. We think if we don't say something nice, the other person is judging us. So try this. The next time there's an awkward pause, or the next time you ask for something, just stop talking. Ask the question and then wait. Don't add, "if that's okay," or "sorry to ask." Just ask, "Can you help me with this report?" Silence. Let the request hang there. It shows confidence. It shows you believe your request is valid. You'll feel a spike of anxiety. Your brain will scream, "Sorry, fix it, fill the silence." But if you ride that wave for just 3 seconds, the anxiety breaks. The other person answers, and the world doesn't end. In fact, they treat you like a normal person who just asked a normal question. You realize that the monster you were afraid of, the rejection, the anger, was never really there. It was just a shadow puppet created by your past. And look, I want to be real with you for a second. This isn't about becoming a jerk. This isn't about never apologizing when you actually mess up. Accountability is a beautiful, strong trait. If you hurt someone, own it. But there's a difference between accountability and self-betrayal. Over-apologizing is self-betrayal. It's throwing yourself under the bus before anyone has even looked at the schedule. You are training yourself to be smaller than you are, and the world needs you to be your full size. The world needs your ideas, your questions, your presence. When you stop apologizing for existing, you give other people permission to do the same. You change the energy in the room. You become a person who commands respect, not by demanding it, but simply by not giving away your power for free. It's a journey, and you'll slip up. You'll say sorry to a chair again next week, I guarantee it. And when you do, don't apologize to yourself for apologizing. Just laugh at it, notice it, say, "Oops, there's that old reflex again," and move on. Recovery from people-pleasing is a practice, not a destination. You are undoing years, maybe decades of conditioning. Be patient with yourself. Treat yourself with the same kindness you are so desperate to give to everyone else. Because here's the truth that you need to carry with you. You do not need to earn your right to be here. You do not need to apologize for breathing the air, for occupying a seat, or for having a voice. You are enough exactly as you are, without the sorry attached. So, tomorrow, try it. Catch just one unnecessary apology, swallow it, replace it with a thank you, or just let it be.
Watch what happens. Watch how people react. I promise you the sky won't fall, but your head will be held a little higher, and that is a shift worth making. You've got this, truly. Now, go out there and take up some space.